Have you been stuck by fear? Hey, I'm Coach John. Welcome to another episode of Journey Towards Abundant Living, Leadership Insights, and Personal Growth. I've been thinking a lot about fear lately and its different forms because my understanding is that fear shows up in a lot of ways, but we might not know to call it fear. Anxiousness, worry, concern. And fear has in this format has had me thinking a lot and researching a lot and so forth. So I'm doing some study on it right now, but let me share with you some of what I'm noticing so far in my life, and perhaps with more research I'll share more at a later date because of the fun stuff I've found. So to me, fear has been one of those things that if you're not aware of it, it could really freeze you in your tracks. um, I was working with some high powered people with some high powered jobs lately and realized we're all facing fear. In fact, I heard someone talking about that the other day, and they really work with some high powered people and all the fear that those folks are feeling. And so it's just like, okay, it's really important to know that we all face fear. Unless we are doing some really deep work on ourselves, we're all working with how do we address fear in our lives, whatever form it comes in. So for me, the work that I learned from Dr. David Muchler, the noticing is a key point of that. Just to notice what's coming up for me, what am I feeling in the moment, and just in that noticing, just to be aware, hey, I'm feeling fear of rejection. I'm feeling my best might not be good enough. I'm feeling concerned that this isn't going to work out. To really just notice that. And in that noticing, I find more space comes up. And then through that work with Dr. Muchler, been able to say, hey, he has what's called a life map. So I've been able to identify what my life map is, and in any particular moment say, hey, is my life map coming up right now? So that's been really helpful and really powerful. And I thought it was really interesting listening to that speaker I mentioned last week with the idea that we need to feel fear, to experience fear, to really learn to work through it. So to be able to welcome each moment of fear and just say, thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to practice. Thank you for protecting me. Thank you for giving me alertness to this situation. And I'll take it from here. That's what I remember from that talk. I can't wait to go back to it and re-listen to it. So I thought that was encouraging to really face fear in that way, to be able to say, okay, what is it that I'm here to learn in this moment? Or to even say, this is a moment for me to learn because I'm feeling the fear. And so to be able to just, here's another chance to practice it. And the more we practice, the better we get at facing things. So I already feel like it's not just the idea of being fearless, so to speak, but to be able to say, how can we face our fear? How can we move through fear and do things anyway? And it seems like it's so important right now, the way the world is. One of my mentors has a way of using fear, a different fear, to conquer a particular fear. So say you might be afraid of getting on stage to spread your message. Let's put that one out there. Well, he might say, well, look at the fear of not getting that done, to be 90 years old and not have given it a try when you could have. So using a bigger fear, if you will, to counteract the fear you have in the moment. And I think he would say that by doing that, you really counteract both fears. So it's really an interesting way of going about that. So how might that work for you? Give it a try. If you like it, great. And if it doesn't work for you, that's fine too. Also recently heard an ad for a class LeVar Burton was giving, and he used the term suppressed excitement. I think, pretty sure that was the term. So when it comes to being nervous about something coming up, which I believe is a form of fear, to use that idea of suppressed excitement. And that's helped me some lately too. I'm really excited about this thing coming up. I have some suppressed excitement about this thing coming up. So that's really been helpful to think about fear in those ways. Let me look at my notes here, just a moment. So I did some research too about fear and looked at the different levels of fear. And One article was interesting that I need to get back to further. I often think of or have thought of fear ultimately being about the fear of death, but this actually had some other ones too, which was really interesting. So, if I remember correctly, everything comes back to variations of five key fears. So, I find that really fascinating. And I have some, there's a group that does something called failure lab. So I'm wondering about maybe doing a fear lab. How can we address our fears? How can we look at what we're doing around our fears? Are we giving ourselves chances to feel the fear and do it anyway? And that idea of feeling a little bit of discomfort, feeling a little bit of pain, and maybe sometimes it's more than a little bit, but let's start with a little bit. To me, that really seems to be a key way of making sure that we respond in a healthy way in any moment. I listened to a lot by Master Shi Yi from Shaolin Temple, Europe. And in one of his talks, he was talking about how in fighting, it still stings to get hit. There's still a sting or pain involved. However, it's how we interact, how we hold ourselves in the moment and respond. And so I see the way fear comes up, anxiety comes up, hurt comes up, for us to be able to feel that sting, that moment, at least that momentary sting, so that we can respond in an appropriate way rather than just react, lash out in an inappropriate way. And it's not something I've mastered necessarily, but it's something that I see as a way forward, something that I'm working to incorporate. So, looking at different fears, there's fear of harm, pain, or death, fears of rejection or embarrassment, so like physical fears, social fears, existential fears like fears of the unknown or being meaningless, performance fears, not meeting expectations, underachieving, change related fears, fears of unfamiliar or loss of control, phobias like fears of specific objects or situations, anticipatory fears, anxiety about potential events or outcomes, inherited or learned fears, fears passed down through culture, family, or personal experiences. Those are just some of the fears that have come up in my research so far. So, looking forward to practicing facing those fears, looking them in the face, so many faces of fear, if you will, and giving myself that chance to practice. So it's been helpful to really get to know myself as well, to really, okay, what makes me tick, figuring out my life map, like I mentioned, looking at how I respond in certain situations, knowing, okay, I've been through this before, even though I feel this way now, the suppressed excitement of being on stage, giving a talk, doing a presentation, running a session, that when I get into it, there's a different feeling, there's a different experience. And often in that experience, it feels much better. And especially on the other side, like, wow, I did that. That was great. So cool. And so give yourself those chances. If give it a try, see if it works for you. If it doesn't, that's fine. Let me know what works for you if that doesn't. So there are so many things to try, so many ways this comes up. Hopefully some of this that I'm sharing today, plus things that I may share in the future, give you some help with your journey towards abundant living. I'm working to really nurture a life of peace, love, happiness, joy, finding out what works for me, finding out what doesn't work for me, sharing it with you in case that it might help you on your journey. If something I share helps you, great. And if not, that's all right too. I just really hope that at some point, since we're on similar journeys, that we might be able to have a conversation and help each other out along the way. So I want to invite you to leadersupportcircle.com. It's a free group on Facebook that I lead, fostering a community, supporting you, giving you a chance to try your hand at your journey towards abundance in a group of like-minded individuals. So I hope if that appeals to you, I hope you'll join us. In the meantime, may you be happy, well, peaceful. This is Coach John from leadersupportcircle.com, rooting for you as you follow your heart, live your best life, and change the world. Have a great day, friends.